Hi everybody, Rabia Sutton, CEO and bold thinker of Forward Think, and I have my husband, Jason Sutton, here with me to talk to you guys today about kind of our journey as a married couple and support system for each other, and how we try to keep a balance with work, life, and raising a family. So just to give you guys kind of a little bit of context, we both went the traditional route of getting degrees. I think the difference is we both worked pretty much full time the entire time we were getting our degrees. And when we got married, we had an agreement that the next degree that each of us got, we would not be pursuing at the same time. So because we were always used to kind of working full time and going to school full time. So we just didn't see a lot of each other.
Yeah, didn't see a lot, but I think just staying focused, looking at the end in mind, staying focused on what we wanted to accomplish and we wanted to be able to provide the resources and the support for our children, and I think it was important that we understood that if we get through this, as we're beginning this stage, once we follow through and everything comes together, we'll be able to provide our kids the resources and stability that we didn't always see or that we might have wanted from there. And I think that during some of the traditional route, Rabia, we were both in positions of different leadership. Mine was in the education field, her was in the business world. She decided that it was time for her to go to the next level and she wanted to become an entrepreneur. And our kids were still young at then, and I was still in a position that required a lot of my time. And I think that's when we had to really sit down and figure out what really works. How do you find that balance? And I think the first thing is, in the relationship, somebody's got to be humble. And I think the thing is, you have to be humble by looking at each other and really looking at what are our strengths, and what's going to really work. And I think with that being said, I think we both enjoy the kids, but Rabia, with her entrepreneurship, is we're going to require her to spend a lot of time outside the house and go chase her dreams. And really understanding that, I think being in the marriage, that's what's going to make it work, and I could see the potential, because even though I was working, I was in that traditional role, I was capped out. So there's my opportunity is only to the next level, but she was looking at in her role, it was unlimited. So what she could accomplish and what she could provide for the family would be unlimited. So as she started going out and she started spending time and going to deals, it actually was getting involved more with the kids and spending more time with the kids. And what I realized is that what started happening is it forced us to communicate even more, because we had very different parenting styles. How she looked at her parenting style was one way, was very exploratory and learn, and my parenting style was very structured and disciplined. And I think for us, with the same humility again, is being able to sit down and have those honest conversations and actively listen to what she was really trying to say, which was difficult for me, because I thought that, this is what worked, this is, our kids were very structured, and hers was very, no, they need to explore. So I think one of the lessons that we've heard was being humble and talking everything out. What about technology and how we use that, and as they get older?
Oh no, we definitely do. I think also just like...
And no checklist.
No checklist.
So we can't, I found that if she does something for 1 week, and she's holding all the weight for 1 week and I'm not, I can't say, well, she, it makes it very difficult. She said, well, for the last week or last 2 weeks, I've been doing all this. You've been able to pick the kids up. When you start having that checklist and you start keeping score. Yeah. When you start keeping score, that's gonna deteriorate the team, right? That's gonna deteriorate the partnership, and it didn't help, and we were deteriorating some of that stuff. So it became a point where we had to stop keeping score, and it's what's best for our kids.
So I would say, when we started out kind of in our careers, just by the nature of what I was doing in the industry I was in versus what he was doing, both were time consuming, but once he got to a certain level, it was like super time consuming. And so he was never home.
And what were you doing and what was he?
So I was, managing contracts and compliance for a large government contractor, and he was in administration in a school building, so vice principal, then principal. And that requires a lot of, you're there to open the building, close the building, after school activities. And, you know, I always say this, and I will stand by it. He's the better parent. So having him gone, and though I'm not a super structured person, as you're aware,
I'm the same.
I respect that the kids need it, and they weren't going to get it from me. And so, you know, the shift when I really started to feel like I was in a position and wanting to grow the business and really started getting out more, he was home more, and it's a better thing. Like, you know, the kids always make jokes and complain about it, but
Gestapo.
we call him the Gestapo. But they need it, and they know they need it. So, you know, everybody's kind of relationship improved, and, you know, so we have an older daughter who's 26, Casey, and then Joey and Layla, who are 16 and 15 right now. And the way we, you know, raised Casey versus them is completely different. And it's like, and we both are in families where there's like two sets of kids. And the way our parents raised us as the older ones versus the younger ones, we would always be like, look at what they let them do, blah, 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 right? And now we're like, I don't know whether that's what our parents were doing, but we intentionally were like, wait a minute, why, you know, what are we hiding from her, right? We were like a lot more strict with her kind of growing up, and mainly because like he was focused on that, because that's not really part of my DNA. But with Joey and Layla, we're very upfront with them. And I think we were with Casey, but we gave her a lot more structure. And we try to be open with them about mistakes we've made in the past, learning from it, and, you know, the experiences, and not giving those answers like when you're like, don't do something, and you ask your parents why, and they say because. Like, really explaining to them, and then letting them know, like, there's natural consequences. I don't need to ground you for you to learn something. If you do something that you're not supposed to be doing, you're going to learn a lesson. It's going to catch up with you, and you're going to have to live with those consequences. And I'm trying to prevent you from having to learn something that I have already learned, but if you don't want to take it on face value, then you're just going to have to learn it. And I think that has, at least for me, you know, we have really good relationships with our kids, and most people are like, oh my God, they're teenagers, like they must be horrible. And I'm like, no, I didn't really like them when they were like 7 or 8. But by the time they got to middle school, I just, you know, I really like them, and I love watching kind of who they're becoming, and I just think it's fun to be able to do that. And
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But I think some things that we don't do, we don't argue in front of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and never raise our voice, never say anything hurtful. And I think that with Rabia and I, we have those private conversations when the doors close, you know, and we have to have honest conversations. Sometimes she tells me things I don't want to hear, and sometimes I tell her things that she doesn't want to hear. But I think as long as it's genuine and it's not in a hurtful way, that she's pretty open to it, and I'm usually open to it to process. I think that, but you know, I think that you have to be very clear with the one you're with about what's your overall goal, what do you want to do, and, you know, and you want to raise children who are balanced, right? And what we always tell our kids, be kind and be humble, you know, to each other, and we have to model that every day. So it's a lot of the conversations that we're having as forward thinkers we have with our children. You know, we have our children, what did you do to be kind today? You know, we send them texts. Rabia is really good at communicating with Snapchat and everything else like that. And also she's very good at not reacting. So when there's always an incident in high school, somebody went to a party, somebody did this and that, they always will tell her, and they don't tell me, you know, and I will be, and I know through Rabia that what's really going on, but, you know, when my first instinct is naturally to come at them, I just let the process play out, and I think that's worked really well. But I think in the relationship with just living with someone who is an entrepreneur and driven like Rabia, you know, you have to take your ego and be humble in the relationship and understand that, you know, when you're working with an entrepreneur, you know, trying to restrain them is the worst thing you can do. You know, you just have to, you know, open that door, and you have to let them follow their passion. And then, you know, and knowing that by them following their passion, that, you know, that everything will come back to circle, and I think that's what helps with us is the fact of if she calls me today and says I got to go to New York tomorrow, just go.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And I think that by doing that, we've always been able to figure it out, and it becomes so normal that it doesn't stop the rotation within the house with the kids and everything else like that. And then also what I noticed that it helps Rabia with her creativity and her being able to explore new opportunities and never have to think, can I do this? Well, do I, you can just go ahead and do it. And what we've seen is as the business continues to grow, it helps foster the relationship we have too. And I think it forces us, especially as parents, to communicate more and and have those honest conversations nobody really wants to have.
Amazing. So, or go ahead.
No, and I was just gonna say, because I know we talked about like work-life balance, and I definitely think that's, I don't want to say it's a myth, but I want to say that I have a little bit of a different view, and I tell the kids.
I don't think it's work though.
Well, exactly. It doesn't feel like work to me, but I'm saying like, if I'm, really rocking it out at work, the likelihood that I'm being a good wife that same day or that same hour or a really great mom is probably not, right? So it's like day to day, week to week, probably not hour to hour, but day to day, week to week, if I'm super focused on something and I can't sleep and I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I want to get it and I can't sleep until I get done with that task that's work related, I'm not taking you to school in the morning. Like, no. And everybody just has to know that that's kind of the way it is. And I make plenty of sacrifices and try to make it up, but this is it.
And I think too, we're living with entrepreneurs respecting that. So she's gonna get up at 3 o'clock. She'll be up at past 1 o'clock, and that's her. But at the same time, she has to respect. I'm gonna go to bed around 9:30, and I'm gonna get up early, and I'm gonna do my thing. So it's about her showing that same respect. So I think you have to understand. You have to be very flexible in your thinking and just with your schedules because they're totally on a different schedule. Their mind thinks totally different than typically. I do.
He literally has a rule when I travel or I'm out at like a late networking event or a dinner, at 10 o'clock his phone just goes off and he won't answer it. And I'm like, what if there's an emergency? He's like, it can wait.
Yeah.
And I just start laughing.
Because I think I always tell Rabia is in the house you still have to have structure, right? You still have stability. So everything has to stay the same. So because she's on a different schedule, because that's what her what she's doing forces her to do, I'm not on that schedule, and I don't live through that. So, and I think being married to some of the entrepreneurs, you still have to have yourself, right? And myself is I'm going to be in the bed.
And he will be.
And I'm going to go to sleep. And if you're, past 10 o'clock, I'm not going to answer the phone, but at the same time, because, we have to understand what's mentally healthy for ourselves, right? And you have to do, these are the things I know. If I go to bed early, I get up in the morning, I meditate, I go to the gym, I start my day off, I'm up, I want to be up at 4 o'clock. She might still be up working at 4 o'clock. So, and understanding that. And I think that what's important too is that you have to have clear expectations too about how you define your time. So is it more important for us to brainstorm, or is it more important for us to go to dinner? Or can we go to the dinner and brainstorm at the same time? So I think that too, you have to take advantage of the moments that you have and make sure that, you're creating these experiences with your wife or with your children that that they're going to remember. You don't have to be there every day. It's no point of being there every single day if you're not there at all. Yeah. But it's when you are there, you being present and being aware of being there, and you're creating these moments and experiences that you'll remember.
So this concludes our video. I hope you guys enjoyed our talk. I'd love to hear from you below in the comments about your experiences as an entrepreneur yourself, or your parents, or your spouse, and how you've dealt with the things that come with being an entrepreneur or being close to one. If you guys like this content and you want more of it, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rabia Sutton. Thanks for watching.